What is up, guys? We're going to do a market update today, go over everything that happened on Friday, why this liquidation event occurred, some things that we could have done to maybe avoid it. We'll go over some charts, some levels, and yeah, we'll see what everything's looking at. I haven't had too much of a look at some charts yet, so I'll be going through that with you today, answering questions that I got on Twitter, and we'll just see where we're at, see where we can go from here, and then yeah. So we'll start with Bitcoin here. Now this one held up the best, like you can see we were seeing this move gonna happen before it happened. If you watched the last video, we were speaking about how this is a typical flat pattern, and then you get a lot of people longing up here only for market to melt down later, which is what happened. So Bitcoin is completely fine, and we are literally looking for exactly the same as what I was speaking about last video. So healthy, very healthy correction. There's no warning signs, there's nothing to be concerned about with Bitcoin or ETH or Solana. They held up and just followed the plan that we were originally thinking of. Okay, now on the lower time frame, it's the exact same idea. All that I think is going to happen is we're going to come down for one more wave like this, come and tap that 1.618, which is around 97k. We can also hopefully come and take out these lows right here, which is what I would like. Doesn't have to happen, and then we can kind of tap into this volume area here, range for a little bit, maybe something like come down, range a little bit, take out the lows, break, and then off, and then higher. If it's the bullish count. If it's not the bullish count, then it would get pretty bearish, but I still lean bullish because of everything I'm seeing at the moment. So I'll keep you guys updated. If there's any changes, you can just look at my Twitter. So Bitcoin is very simple. There's nothing to update. Okay, now let's just take a look at something like CRV, for example. Okay, now okay, let's use Atom as an example because that got smoked. So this one went down. I don't think that's the right chart, but Atom went down to 0.01. Okay, so it went to a penny. Now that is not organic. That is not really heard of. This was the biggest liquidation event since FTX, the Luna collapse, everything that happened there. This is, I think, about 10x the amount. I've had a look at some data, so I think this is around 10 times bigger. What we know of, this was one of the biggest liquidation events well, if not the biggest we've ever seen in crypto. And the main theory behind this is leverage, auto deleveraging. So what essentially happened here is Trump's tariffs could have obviously started it, but we're in a wave 3 down anyway. And a lot of these exchanges, they allow you to use collateral for your perp positions. Okay, so let's say you were using XRP as collateral, and then it dropped and you had $1 million of XRP as collateral, or you had 2 million, or you had 3 million, whatever it may be. If it was $100 of collateral for XRP, and you were using that to long another alt, and then the value of your XRP dropped by 40%, you'd only have $40 instead of 100 as collateral. So you would start to get liquidated because your collateral essentially just splits in half. And this is what happened on a lot of exchanges. A lot of this collateral basically split in half, and that caused lots of selling, lots of auto liquidations. Not people who wanted to sell to the markets, but they were forced to sell, and there weren't anyone who was buying it because the books were thin, so there was not much liquidity. And essentially what happened is everyone's who had leverage positions, they would have started to be deleveraged because of their collateral would have went down, and this was across the board. And then this was just a massive amount of forced selling across most alts, which there was so much selling, in such a short period of time that there was nothing that you could have done to expect it or to stop that. And essentially I'd say it was like a chain reaction of forced leverages being liquidated, people who were just getting closed out, forced to sell, who weren't willing sellers to the market, and that was an immense amount of sell pressure, and that's what can cause things like this on alts. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. People's collateral went down very quickly, started liquidating positions, and then all the leverage players essentially got wiped out. And what makes this worse is a lot of people with stop losses, even if you had a stop loss, it would unlikely that you would be able to get filled, because there just wasn't anyone to buy there just wasn't any liquidity to buy it, okay? So there was pretty much nothing that you could have done if you were long in this situation. It happened to me on one of my accounts. I was long on LTC, but I was also short on a lot of alts, and my stop losses didn't go off either. So I lost more than I should have done. But that's the nature of this game. You can't really complain about it. You can't cry about it. You just have to deal with it, because this is what happens in markets like this. And if you want to come into this game, you have to be prepared for that kind of thing to happen. It's not the exchange's faults, it's not market makers' faults, because it's not even what they do. It's simply just the nature of the beast, and it can happen again, but it's just the nature of crypto that things like that can happen. So for the majority out there who did lose, and there was a lot of people that did lose money, then you need to figure out how you could have avoided it next time. And this is why I personally have not a lot, but I have a decent spot portfolio. So I was talking about this in the last video. It stops me from FOMOing. Also, in the event that things like this happen, let's say I did get liquidated for all of my leverage positions. I also have a lot of exchanges, so it's unlikely to happen. But let's say I got liquidated everything. I then still have my spot portfolio. I have stable coins. I'm not completely out of the game. I'm not done. And that is what you need to be doing as well. You need to have a spot portfolio. You need to be holding stable coins. You can't just be going all in on leverage on the market, because then if something like this does happen, you're ruined. And we've seen that a lot, So I'm fine. Most of my community is fine because we were short. Lbank held up really well. We got stopped out of LTC. Shorts take profits, and we were overall up on that day. So we made money on that dip on the public copy trade, which is at $23,000 at the moment from 10,000. And that originally started at 2.5k, ran it to 25. I paid myself 15k, and then we just keep growing it. So Lbank completely fine, very happy with how they actually handled it. I know many exchanges didn't handle it well, so this just gives me more confidence in Lbank as a trader myself. So that's why I trade on that. How does this affect alts? Okay, so what I think, not this kind of wick, this won't, I post on Twitter we will get wick fills, but that doesn't mean that I think it's going to do this, okay? That just means it's going to fill a bit of a wick. I'll use a different chart. Let's use Bybit because it's more accurate. But what I think is going to happen, you don't typically leave wicks like this. I think we will do something like this, okay? We're not going to, I doubt we'll sweep the whole thing, but we probably do something like 30 to 60% range, then take off, okay? So there's not a bear market for alts. It's not bearish. I'm just simply taking short-term shorts at the moment because I believe we'll fill the wicks, and then we can expand upwards. But there's no cancellation of the bear market. There's no bear market. There's nothing to really be that concerned about. It was mostly just a select few alts which got hit really hard. A lot of the alts that we had charted earlier had just hit areas of interest, and at the time people were saying, it's not possible for a 50% drawdown, it's not possible because of XYZ. Well, it's very possible, as you've clearly seen on Friday. People think we can't fill 30% of the wicks. Like, the idea that you can't go down or you can't fill something is such a stupid mentality, because we've seen it happen time and time and time again. And this is why the majority get wrecked, because they think we can't do something and then it happens, okay? So that's that. Let's have a look at H bar because perfectly fine and healthy. I want to buy some spot of this one, but essentially all you had was wick tap into the area of interest, which I posted on my Twitter that I wanted to long. So I'm going to be buying spot on a wick fill, probably buy some spot here, here, here. If I get lower, I'll buy it. Okay. So H bar, fine, nothing really that detrimental to it. I've wanted to get this for a long time, but I've been waiting very patiently, and now I nearly have my opportunity to get in spot. Alts like Bonk, so meme coins, we're gonna have to basically adjust these counts, and instead of this being expanding diagonal, this could just simply be the Y wave. And a lot of these alts look like this, so some of it I actually think makes it more bullish, and I would imagine that a lot of the lows on most alts are down here, because this isn't people who are wanting to sell, this is people who are forced to sell because of the liquidations. So I'd imagine that alt bottoms are in on the more the alts with less liquidity. I'd pretty much say that the bottoms are mostly in, but we will partial fill the wicks. I mean, even Aave, for example, I haven't changed this chart, I literally just brought it up. This is exactly what we drew, perfectly healthy, looks good for higher, apart from a wick fill. So I would say it's pretty healthy across board on the major alts. So Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, completely healthy corrections, nothing out of the ordinary. It was only lower liquidity alts such as Psy, Fartcoin, Pengu, which got absolutely destroyed. So I personally won't be trading those from here, just because right now there aren't clear setups, there aren't clear invalidations. I don't know where we're going to go because they have broken high time frame structure. They've lost major areas that I was interested in. So what I'm going to do is simply wait for price action to develop, see if we fill the wick, see what we develop out of that before even taking any trades on that. And that is why I always say, you know, be very picky with what you choose, because like LTC, which is one I'm very bullish on. It's the wrong chart, but LTC, okay, perfectly fine. Your invalidation is down here. You're not coming down and wicking down $4 per LTC. So I trade coins which I know can handle things like this basically. And this would just be an ABC to complete the E wave, okay? So we were looking at it before that this could be a potential 1 in the impulse, but we now adjust this and it becomes a E wave, and that is an overthrow, okay? So it doesn't take out the C, so it's still perfectly valid. All we're looking for is a bit of a wick fill, and then we can start sending again. So there will definitely be an alt season. There's no bear market at the moment that is confirmed, and it's unlikely to happen. So all of the major coins that I was looking at and that I've been trading are completely fine. There's no problem with them. And that is why I tend to not trade low liquidity alts. And if I do, I do it very rarely. Psy, like, taking out every inception wick, taking out everything that is relevant, so I will not be trading this coin unless I have a clear setup and invalidation, which will not be for a while. Same with Fartcoin. Okay. I wasn't in this trade, I closed it out for profits, but it's the same exact story. I'm not going to be trading any of these alts because it's not worth it for me now. XRP, healthy, exactly what we expected. Most high liquidity alts, all that happened was exactly what we were saying in the last video. Tapped into areas we were interested in, didn't go lower, held every invalidation that we needed, so I'm interested in trading these ones. Okay, Sui is a similar one which I'm not interested in. Anything, I keep my alt selection very small, and this is the reason for it. But things like XRP, major liquidity coins, completely fine. There is nothing to worry about at all unless we start breaking down from here and losing high time frame structure, which hasn't happened. All that happened was we simply got a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, coming up for a wave 4, and then a wave 5 to potentially fill, range, low backtest, and then we can start sending. That's all that happened. It was just a wave 3, exactly like we predicted. So XRP, completely healthy. ETC, completely healthy. I've been buying more spots of this. We just changed this to an ABC. This becomes a C. We have to wait a little bit longer for the D and the E now, but nothing's changed. Still high time frame bullish on most of these altcoins. Just have to wait a little bit longer than we expected, let in some wick fills, and that's about it. CRV, I know a lot of people are a big fan of this one. I've never really seen technically the appeal personally. I understand the fundamental side of it, but it's not personally one I'm interested in. I might buy a little bit of spot just because I watch Credible Crypto. I think he's a pretty good guy to watch on Twitter. He's a good trader. He's an honest person. He's not like a scammer trying to take everyone's money. He's a nice dude. So I trust his analysis on this, I guess, and I'll probably buy a little bit of spot. I'm not going to trade it because I don't like it personally, but I'll buy a little bit of spot just because I rate his conviction in it. So I'll put a little bit of money in it, nothing nothing crazy, just what I can afford to lose. So that's CRV. Simply, I'm not sure personally, but I trust his conviction, so I'll probably take a little bit. I haven't looked too much at ETH here, guys. I've taken a short, just a little scalp, just to potentially fill the wick. But I still need to look at all these charts fully, which is going to take me quite a long time. But again, ETH just did exactly what we said would have happened. The red line down, and look, take out these lows, perfect. Okay, so it's exactly what we expected. No concerns, nothing to be worried about, just what we expected. So this would be a 525, a W, an X wave, and a Y. So you probably get something like this, and then up, which is fine. Okay, so all the hate that I got up here, calling me an idiot for shorting, disagreeing, hating basically, well, they are now probably liquidated, and a lot of people, they need to pretty much just be aware that things like this can happen, because I was probably one of the few who actually was pretty vocally bearish at the top. I was shorting, I made money on it. So this is, I guess, a learning example for many that anything can happen and you have to be prepared for anything. You can't say, oh, it can't go down there, because it can, and it will be proven time and time again. The market will humble those who are arrogant towards it. Okay. So that is a brief look at most charts on all the majors. Perfectly healthy, nothing to worry about. Solana, again, healthy, just what we expected here. I still would like these lows. I haven't got a current count because I'm not sure if this wave 3 is complete. It could be internal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, and then 5, and then that connects. Okay, so Solana is still the same. I'm not going to long unless I get down here, and I will wait for all the wick fills before I look to trade everything again. And that is pretty much the plan of action now. Shorting, scalps only, no swings for me. Fill a bit of the wick, not on Solana because I wouldn't long this one, but this is an example. Fill the wick, potentially sweep it, see a nice reclaim, and then take a long here, target up here. That is not what I'll be doing for Solana, but just because it was there, it's a rough idea of what I'm looking at the moment. Now, a lot of wicks don't have to fill fully, but they will definitely fill a little bit. Okay, Bitcoin dominance, exactly as predicted. It's exactly what I was saying last video, that we'd come up here. That's exactly what we've done. Same thing, slow bleed up, fill it, potentially sweep, and then come back down, and we can continue alt season. And we are very close to alt season, in my opinion. Major events like that, they don't mark tops, they mark bottoms. So alt season is just around the corner. We just need to wait a few more weeks, potentially a month or two, fill in these wicks, which will take time. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to be very, very patient, and then we can look for longs. Now, I think that's most of the main charts. It's not much has changed since we went over last video. It's simply just adjusting a few counts, being confident in the coins that we invest in, not being an idiot, and yeah. So you guys asked me some questions on Twitter and Telegram, which I'll get to now. So one of the questions was, how do I pick my alts which I trade? And it's quite simple. I trade in the top 50 coins usually, and that comes off Elliott Wave high time frame counts. And example for CRV, I don't have a high time frame count that's not clear and obvious, so it's not one I trade. LTC, it's the wrong chart, but okay. XRP, high time frame count, I have it. A lot of liquidity, clear and obvious structure, I know where we're going to go, so respecting everything that we need, and that's it. All it is a combination of high liquidity coins with good fundamentals, and analyzing the chart, which looks good from an Elliott Wave standpoint. We have previous years of price action, so it's not just some new coin like Asta, for example, where I don't have a lot of price action. We can see coins like this, they hold up during events like this, very bullish, and that they can essentially, they've proven to me that they are worthy of trading. High liquidity, strong Elliott Wave counts, clear price action, holding up very well, but buying back quickly, not new coins with established price action. That's all I trade. Established price action is what I look for, and clear and obvious counts. Another question was, where would I long H bar on the dip? Leverage is a very different story to perps, but spot I will be accumulating each wick fill. The lower I get, the more I'll buy. Simple as that. Your invalidation is obviously going to be, well, it doesn't have to be this low because it can come down and sweep it, but this would be your main invalidation. So that's pretty much just a waiting for more price action at the moment. When are the best times to trade? For me personally, if I'm trading Bitcoin, it's going to be New York session is always the best one. For altcoins, time zone doesn't really matter too much because I'm just trading swing positions which take a few days to play out, a few weeks, and I have plenty of time to get entries. And how I run up small portfolios, I get this question a lot, is essentially all I do is swing trade and compound. So for example, how I did the past few months on the last few accounts is, I'll take ETH as an example. So I just catch pivots, and then so I wait for the whole market to line up. So when everything is telling me you're approaching a near top from my Elliott Wave or other technical analysis, I will start layering in shorts. So I get a few entries in, stops above here, maybe a few R per trade, and then I risk about 5% of my portfolio on smaller amounts. It's probably not recommended for big accounts to risk that much, but it's money that I don't care if I lose. So I will typically risk about 5% per trade, and I will do usually around 2 to 3 alts. So let's say I'm shorting ETH up here, I've got in 5% risk here, I'm targeting down here, and everything is telling me that we're approaching a top likely to go down. I will also look for another pair which is showing that it's near a top and it's got clear price action for it being a top, and do the same thing. I'll layer in bids, I'll layer in sells if it was here, and then up to 5% risk on that one, and then I'll do the same on usually one more pair. So I'm got total risk around 15% of my portfolio, and then worst case scenario you're losing 15%, best case you're making around 70 to 80%. So it's always harder at the start to build up these portfolios, but with the win rate I have, which is around 80% at the moment, compounding plays a huge part. If you get a wallet from 2.5k to 5k and you're risking 15%, it's a lot higher than if you've got a portfolio of 1k. So you have to start, the start always takes the longest, it's usually the most difficult. Sorry about the throat today, guys, but the start's always the hardest, but once you get it going, then money increases, and it's just literally all it is the compound effect, and that's how you build up small ports. You don't have to risk a million R, you don't have to full port your accounts To turn 16k into 250,000, it took me a month. Okay, and it's all it was simple range trading, compounding at the highs and lows, just using that same risk principle, being patient, not over trading, not throwing money away, having a high win rate, compounding. I did it in probably 10 to 15 trades, and that was just simply trading here, 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 and I didn't trade at all in here because it's giving away money. If you lose money, your compound goes down. The more you can stack, the higher your compound goes up, and this is why compounding is huge in the stock markets, in TradFi and everything else, because it's such a powerful tool. So that's how I build up small accounts. Another question was, why do I think Coinbase didn't liquidate like Binance? And it's simply because there was no auto deleveraging, which is what I discussed at the start. It's a spot exchange, you don't have leverage, so there was no leverage to be wiped, pretty much. Another one is my LTF count on BTC, which is exactly the same as what we've discussed. We're looking for a flat, so that would be 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5 down, and that's the running count. And this was a corrected move up, as we thought in the last video. So, yep, bearish on the low time frames at the moment, wick fills, and then bullish on the high time frame, up only alt season. Am I long on LTC? No, I'm not. What are my entry parameters? So for alts, I will use a mixture of Elliott wave, fibs, and volume and ranges. I don't have an entry criteria as such for altcoins because I kind of know where we're going to go. So it'll just be simply layering, and I will use my invalidation. If I don't like developing PA, I will close out. If I like developing PA, I will continue to stack in buys or sells. So I don't have an entry criteria as much. I don't really wait for as much confirmation on higher time frame alts, because if you're waiting for that confirmation, you're already risking a massive amount of RR, so your returns are going to be much, much smaller. So I'd rather just take a loss than wait ages for confirmation, or just close out for half an hour loss. So I think that is most of them questions I had on Telegram. On Twitter. So I'll do some more charts in the next video. This is just kind of my rough thoughts at the moment on the market. I've gone through what I expect, wick fills and everything. Once we get those wick fills, we have developing price action from those wicks, then we can start looking at some charts again. But right now it's simply just waiting game, waiting for the wicks to get filled, and then we can go from there. And that's all it really is. Most of the alts haven't lost high time frame invalidation. So what I expect from the market now is chopping, bleeding, filling in wicks for the next few weeks before expansion upwards. I don't think we will V-shape reverse. I think we will just slowly fill in the wicks and then continue off higher. So I think that will do it for today, guys. Very quick, not too long, just a brief summary of what happened on Friday, how we could have avoided it, your questions, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.